Few challenges facing America and the world are more urgent than combating climate change. The science is beyond dispute, and the facts are clear. Sea levels are rising. Coastlines are shrinking. We've seen record drought, spreading famine, and storms that are growing stronger with each passing hurricane season.
This is a human artwork that has to do mostly with a reaction to what is happening and hopefully a proactive stance.
I've met with Prince Charles on this subject, who has formed a business executives group around the global warming issue. They're executive CEOs of major corporations in all of Europe. I met with them in London.
Won't listen. We can make the difference right now. We have to make enough noise to make them listen. We have to let them know that the future belongs to us, and we won't let them destroy it. Thank you for letting me speak.
To deal with this global warming challenge, we're going to have to be willing to take action now and not wait for later for someone else.
Today, global warming is real. Did we take the opportunity? Did we accept the challenge?
Global warming and climate change, we're doing something about it in New Mexico. I set tough standards to reduce greenhouse emissions. Maybe the country and President Bush don't follow the Kyoto Treaty, but my state does.
The tidewater area of your state and my state in 50 years will be underwater if we in fact don't do something about greenhouse gases.
Previous amounts of carbon emissions, the global warming problem is becoming worse, and whatever steps this administration takes credit for, it's been diminished enormously by our increased use of
high-tech, green-collar economy. That will create jobs and develop the great companies of today and tomorrow. Hundreds of thousands of new jobs, hundreds of thousands in renewable energy have already been created by foresighted investors who see the need for clean energy that doesn't contribute to global warming.
That means on climate change, we ought to be leading the way.
Everything that we can in our power to slow down global warming before it is leading the way for other states and for other nations. Other countries like India and China, Brazil and Mexico would join us when they see all the great work.
And that is why we are urging all to pass this year, not 50 years from now, but this year, the global warming solutions.
When I take office, my presidency will mark a new chapter in America's leadership on climate change.
I think we need to be very aggressive in addressing what I think is a crisis in this issue of climate change or global warming. We ought to reduce greenhouse gases by 80%.
Other countries are ahead of us. Great Britain and other countries around the world have done much more than we've done. We have a responsibility. Our Earth, I repeat, has a fever. The fever is going up, not down. And we've got to bring that fever down. This legislation is our start to making our Earth well.
Climate change is an important issue and probably
any
the
nation
most important.
that's willing to join the cause of combating climate change will have an ally in the United States of America.
It's slowly shrinking, slowly melting.
I am convinced that global warming is a real and present danger.
Greenhouse gases.
And we're urging, in no uncertain terms, stronger, clearer national leadership on global warming
Evidence
as well.
is sufficient that we should move towards the most effective possible steps to reduce
carbon emissions as a real cost of doing business.
2025, as President Bush would have us do? I don't think so. By 2025, our window of opportunity may well be closed. That's what the scientists tell us. The tipping point that scientists fear, the time at which the environmental impact of global warming becomes severe and irreversible, may have been reached by then.
The softness of their bodies and the hardness of the glacier, and how this glacier
with a federal cap and trade system. We'll establish strong annual targets that set us on a course to reduce emissions to their 1990 levels by 2020 and reduce them an additional 80%.
I think, let me make very clear, I think that the election of Barack Obama is very essential to our taking the right path with the right timing in terms of global.
Hearing about global warming solution bill, and some representatives for claiming that global warming does not exist. One man said climate change could be caused by sunspots, not pollution. Another said it could be from people breathing. I'm 8 years old, and I know better than that.
Millions more jobs can be created with the enactment of a strong cap-and-trade system that's in this
Global
legislation.
warming is a test of America's leadership, and not just on the environment. Climate change is a foreign policy issue.
The big issue, of course, is the cap and trade. Until we move to that place, we really will not be addressing the issue in a way that is global and will make the significant difference that we have to reach our goals by 2050.
We can continue to ignore the reality of global warming literally puts my children and grandchildren.
Once I take office, you can be sure that the United States will once again engage vigorously in these negotiations and help lead the world toward a new era of global cooperation.
If, in fact, glaciers continue to melt at the rate they are now, and they, in fact, increase the level of the ocean, which it would be over a period of several decades, by 10 feet. You have 100 million people in the world who live at 3.2 feet above sea level. It would be an international catastrophe resulting. I would not wait for that agreement. I would immediately cap carbon emissions in the United States of America. Set as an absolute goal and a requirement, we move from 2 to 20% reliance on renewable fuels.
This is such a moment. The survival of the United States of America as we know it is at risk, and even more, if more should be required. The future of human civilization is at stake. The climate crisis in particular is getting a lot worse much more quickly than predicted. Scientists with access to data from Navy submarines traversing underneath the North Polar ice cap have now warned us that there is a 75% chance that within only 5 years the entire North Polar ice cap will completely disappear during the summer months. This will further increase the melting pressure on Greenland. According to experts, one of the largest glaciers there, the Jacobshavn Glacier, is moving at a faster rate than ever before, losing 20 million tons of ice every day. That's equivalent to the amount of water used in a year's time by the residents of our
You will interrupt the flow of the Gulf Stream. Northern Europe will enter into a new ice age of some level of severity as yet uncertain. Island nations will flood and island cities will flood, including in China and Japan, and we'll lose 50 feet of Manhattan Island. This is a serious deal.
Because you and Senator Lieberman have come out for a bill which would have mandatory reductions in greenhouse gases.
Gradual reductions, yes.
But they are mandatory.
What I mean by that is that it's cap and trade, that there will be incentives for people to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. It's a free market approach. The Europeans are using it now. We did it in the case of addressing the acid rain. Look, if we do that, we will stimulate green technologies. I have great faith in the American industry. General Electric, the world's largest corporation, has announced they're dedicated to green technologies. This will be profit-making business. It won't cost the American taxpayer. It'll make profits because we'll move forward with the innovation and ability of American industry.
If there were a carbon-based tax, would there be a need for an economy-wide cap-and-trade system?
They are not either or. We can do both. I am in favor of both. Many people discuss cap and trade and a CO2 tax, revenue-neutral CO2 tax, swapping for employment taxes, as if you have to pick one. As a practical political matter, there would be some people who would say only one of the above. I think the most effective approach is to do both.
Well, I would really appreciate then perhaps some clarification and additional information on your view as to how that worked, because of course there is a seeming either-or choice that people are presenting, either a cap-and-trade system, some of the advocates of which seem to think that it will be voluntary, which I find to be totally unacceptable. If it is mandatory, economy-wide or sector-wide, I agree completely with you, it needs to be economy-wide. But without the implementation and enforcement provisions being very well thought out, I'm afraid we will continue to just sort of move along at a slow pace.